And in the 90s, I saw that the Russians actually were much more honest about the war and the contributions made by their allies. We know that after the collapse of the Soviet Union, there was a lot of discussion about the Molotov-Ribbentrop Pact, Stalin's decision to ally himself with Adolf Hitler and fascist Germany from 1939 until 1941, when Hitler deceived him and invaded the Soviet Union. And there was a lot of talk in the 90s and a lot of appreciation for what the United States did through the Lend-Lease program and other aspects of our assistance to the Soviet Union. That has gone away starting in the early 2000s with Vladimir Putin's rewriting of history, not just about the Second World War, but many parts of history. And I think it's all designed to promote this image that Russia is surrounded, it's isolated, that nobody has helped Russia, that the West is against Russia. And I think that line of reasoning has been used to manipulate the Russian people themselves into justifying Putin's policies of controlling them, denying them access to the West, trying to reassert, kind of rebuild the Iron Curtain that existed before the collapse of the Soviet Union, and scare people into thinking that they have to accept Putin and his policies, when in fact those policies aren't serving their interests. They're serving the interests of a small group of people in the Kremlin. So it's very frustrating to see because, again, in the 90s, I saw and I heard and I spoke with many, many Russians who recognized and appreciated the cooperation we had during the Second World War or the Great Patriotic War. What bothers me as an American is to see how they denigrate the contributions made by our country and by our other allies. And I want to be clear, I wrote this in the article, we should never, never forget the suffering that the people in Russia or the former Soviet Union went through during that war. But there are many other people in Europe that suffered greatly. And there were many sacrifices made, and we should respect all of those sacrifices. So that's why I wrote the article. And I want Americans to understand, and people in the West, some of the other arguments that should be made when the Russians claim that they won single-handedly, the Second World War. They defeated Nazi Germany. That is not a true narrative, in my opinion. It's not historically correct.